Today we talked about a couple of really tense conversations and that can be had either between different individuals or between a practitioner and the client's parts.
That's right. And we talked about the protocol. The reason that came up is because I discovered in an IFS session with a client, that I had skipped ahead in the line and assumed that I had an informed consent and permission to use the IFS model in the coaching session. And it became very painfully clear that this client and their parts needed a better understanding of what I was attempting to do and why I was doing it. So that called on me to create this protocol.
And the promise of listening to this episode, if you choose to, is that you will get to learn this protocol that Bill has invented that makes these conversations doable and healing and enriching.
Well, welcome to the True You podcast. My name is Bill Tierney. I'm a compassionate results coach. And this is my partner, Marty Kettlehead, Dr. Martin Kettlehead. He is an author. He's an leadership coach.
Both are correct.
Okay. And as usual, the pre-record conversation has led us to a point where we're in agreement about what we want to talk about. Today, we had a couple of topics that would have been, I think, very, very engaging. And what we settled on was a protocol that I've been working on as an IFS practitioner. I use internal family systems in my coaching. And more all the time, I'm working with other coaches and helping them to master the skill of using IFS in coaching. And it's become evident that there's a nuanced awareness that we can bring to our coaching that helps the IFS model to be almost like turbocharged and have a much more effect than if we aren't paying attention to a couple of things. And so I kind of like the conversation today to be about what I noticed and what I'm recommending for coaches that use IFS, and as well as practitioners and therapists, if we have any that are listening, that will make IFS more effective. But I want to go broader than that as well. I don't want this conversation just to be about coaches and practitioners and therapists that know how to use IFS. It's also for clients and people that use IFS on their own. And I think it's going to apply across the board in relationships between people.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. So and maybe a place to start would be, if you feel comfortable talking about the story that you shared with me. If you're not, I've got another example we can use about the conflict that there was between two people that you were able to successfully mediate.
Oh, I don't mind talking about it. Normally our conversations bring a number of different examples. So do you want me to?
Yeah, just go ahead and jump in, and we'll just use that story.
So this is about a couple that have been married for many years, and there's some completion work to do. There's, in other words, some getting back to their true selves and the true self of the relationship, I might add, because they really do love each other. But right now there's some old stuff that's preventing them it's limiting their ability to be as intimate, and I don't just mean have sex, as they could.
To be as connected.
Yeah, very good. These are tough. These are deep conversations that they're dealing with, like extramarital affair, just like the decisions that got made early on when kids started showing up in the family, and the father goes to work and did a really good job. He made a lot of money and provided well for 3 kids and his wife, but the wife holds a grudge. She wanted to go to work, and she has since the kids graduated from school. She's gone back to work, and so, but she holds, why couldn't I be the one who, and I had to stay home with the kids, and I'm behind in my career. So these are deep, long standing issues that he came to me and wondered how do I even broach this? I don't want her to feel like I'm bringing this up because she needs to change her attitude because she'll just resist that. So that's
very wise, very wise. Yeah. Yeah. And that is such a wise stance, especially given how crucial the communication needs to be now between the two of them if they're going to be able to reconnect and get to the level of intimacy connection that they want.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about what happens when a system is under pressure, when a human internal system is under pressure. And in this example, your client is under pressure in his relationship with his wife. His wife is under pressure. By under pressure, I just mean there is an internal tension that's created by internal conflict, opposing positions about how things want to go, how things should go, how things have gone,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and what we should be doing now. Naturally, I'm talking about parts in IFS. But anytime, and this is true for everybody that I know, that we experience internal conflict. It's for some people there's more internal conflict than others, and that seems to be based on how much unresolved, incomplete past still there is to get complete about, to resolve. And that just puts the system under pressure, and that kind of pressure creates an environment of danger, threat, and unsafety.
Mm-hmm. It's good that I just want to underscore something totally basic before we move on, and that conflict within, because they wouldn't still be together if they didn't love each other, if they weren't committed to each other's happiness and their children's. And so it's not just, conflict. There's also, yes, internal conflict.
You're saying it's not just the conflict between each other, it's conflict within themselves as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I listen from. I listen for that in my coaching.
I know you do.
and it's usually quite useful. Sometimes it's not, though. Sometimes when my client or the person that's in front of me would prefer that I wasn't listening that closely or in that way,
yeah,
then it doesn't go very well. And so that's one of the pieces of this protocol.
Because they feel caught, like, oh, you got me here.
Potentially. Yeah, potentially. It just feels dangerous. And the reason it probably feels dangerous is because I've been maybe less skilled than I'd like to be. And this is what this protocol is about, is becoming more skilled in getting permission, getting informed consent to offer assistance.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That is a breakdown that can prevent the connection between two people, whether it's a coach helping a client, two people that are in conflict that want to resolve it, or a mediator that's in the middle of two people that are in conflict. And maybe those people want to resolve it, maybe they don't. Maybe they just want to both be right.
Mm-hmm.
You had another story that you shared before we hit record about a conflict that you stepped in the middle of to mediate.
Mm-hmm.
You feel comfortable sharing about that?
Sure.
If not, it's okay.
Sure. I don't think any of these people listen to the podcast.
Well, as long as you don't name them, we should be okay.
Right. Yeah, this was a meeting. I'll keep it really vague that way, in which one of the two people in the conflict had been very generous in advance of a financial problem and paid for it for everybody else at the meeting. It was a financial burden that all of us are now facing, but he took care of it in advance because it needed to get fixed. And it was a water main burst in our building. And now, we're having a meeting to resolve that and get him paid back. And one of the people in the group was like, "This is you went and made this happen. This is your responsibility, and I want to wait and see what insurance is going to pay for, right?" And the rest of us were unified and saying, well, let's get him paid back first, and then we'll see what insurance pays. It's got to get paid for anyway. He's got to get paid back anyway. And they got into a row that, he was like, well, I'm just trying to, do the right thing here. And she's like, don't lecture me about what the right thing is, like that.
A lot of defensiveness, and yeah. And so what role did you play?
As you said, I mediated. I could see that the harder he tried to mansplain her,
Yeah,
the worse it got. And I just jumped in, and I can't remember exactly what I said, honestly, but I have more of a rapport with her, and I was able to have her see, like, look, I promise we will get on the insurance piece, but for now, like, we owe him money, like, we need to pay him back. But I said it, I don't know, in a way that connected with her, and that in a way that he was not able to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's sounding like, and I'm going to guess, and you can check it out with you, that part of what you did was you were able to present the facts and not opinions.
That's right.
You flattened it out. You neutralized it. You took the emotion out of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's right. And they have a long-standing difference of opinion on a lot of things.
Right. They've been in conflict.
That's right, Billy. You hit it on the head, because I remember I was just like, to her, I said, this is not what any of us want. Fact. And yet we have to take care of it.
And he paid it.
Yeah, he was nice enough to go ahead and pay that.
And he's just asking us to reimburse him for that payment.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose if you had an opinion, you probably expressed that you believed that was the right thing to do.
Well, I even said to her something like, if you had been the one in the moment who had to get it paid, we'd be paying you back.
Yeah. And so you were successful in resolving it. You were on the side of the facts rather than on the side of either party.
That's correct.
Yeah. And when each party sensed that from you, already you had built trust. You said they both like me. What I interpret that to mean is we don't like people we don't trust. So if they like you, they trust you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that may or may not be true for everybody in every relationship. I might say I like Joe, but I wouldn't let him in my house.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's not a blank statement that I can say just because I like them, I trust them. But my sense is they must have trusted you, especially given how it went.
Yeah, and I won't go into the whole history of my relationship with each of them, but that's totally accurate.
Yeah. Okay. So now, if you don't mind, I'd like to take this now and apply it to this protocol that I've been talking about.
I'd love to hear that. Yes.
So in the story that you just shared, you stepped into a conflict between two people. The IFS facilitator steps into a conflict with two parts of their client.
Neat.
Yeah. And very much like your story, it's predictable that the two parts in that conflict have been at odds with each other for some time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in fact, so much so that is kind of the nature of their relationship. I am at odds with that other part. If I'm one part.
That's right. It totally defines it. It's like there's only one road that from me to you, and it's not a good one.
Right. You're right. So the relationship might be described as win or lose.
Yeah.
Dominate or be dominated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so in order for you to have resolved that, I assume you didn't say this out loud, but did you resolve it? Did she agree to pay?
She did. We took a vote. That we took a vote, and that's how the whole conflict got started. Is at first she refused to participate in the vote.
Yes.
And then finally in the end she said, yeah, I'll pay.
Yeah. Before you stepped in to mediate, did you ask permission to do so? Or did you have implied permission?
In this case, I think it was implied. I don't think I asked. It was a very heated moment, and I just stepped in.
Got it. Okay. Are you in a titled position where that is granted?
I am the president of this organization, but
So you have some authority,
sort of.
and apparently both of them accepted your help, but it was a dangerous thing for you to do.
It was.
The danger in that was that you could have made it worse by trying. I think when you said mansplaining, the more he tried to mansplain, the hotter she got, or the more difficult she got, I can't remember exactly what you said, but the more upset she was. I thought you were going to say the more he tried to manage her. But that's what mansplaining is an attempt to, oh, you don't understand. Let me explain to you. Just this hammer that drives that nail into that, so that those two pieces of wood can stick together.
That's right.
Mansplaining.
Mm-hmm.
And it's demeaning and condescending. But the most offensive thing about it is that when there is a conflict like this, both parties want to be seen, known, heard, understood, and appreciated for their position. And when we're arguing with each other and saying, no, you're wrong, I'm right. No, you're wrong, I'm right. There's no understanding. There's no hearing. There's no seeing. There's no appreciating. None. So that's why these conflicts go on and on and on and on and on. If we go to your other example, the couple that had a rupture, sounds like a huge rupture in their relationship. They both agree that they want to repair that rupture, but now the hard work is, how do we do that? This is where this protocol that I'm working on and developing, I'm not finished with it. It's just, I recognize there's a need for it. I've attempted to kind of fill the gap and meet that need, and I'm not quite satisfied that I have yet. But there are some elements. Like, in order for a conflict to be mediated, whether it's an internal conflict between parts or with two people, there needs to be an agreement that's the shared outcome. The aspirational outcome is that we have an agreement. That we arrive at some sort of an agreement or some sort of resolution. And now let's go back to the example of you stepping in and intervening into that conflict and then successfully mediating it. As dangerous as it was, the conditions apparently allowed it, and you were able to be successful. But I certainly wouldn't recommend attempting that without agreement from both parties. If I were, not because I'm scared, although I certainly don't want to get in the middle of a poop throwing fight, but because I really want to be able to help. And if I'm going to insert myself in a situation where my help is not wanted or appreciated or recognized as valuable, I'm only putting myself in harm's way.
You'll get poop all over you.
Right. Yes. So that's one piece of the protocol, is permission. Do you want my help? And if the answer is yes.
And do we want the outcome of this to be an agreement?
Well, and that'd be the very first negotiation. First of all, would the two of you like my help? Well, if she says, yes, I'd like your help, she has one thing in mind. And if he says, yes, I'd like your help, he has something else in mind. You know what they both have in mind? I want you to help me convince the other that I'm right.
Right. Yeah.
Very likely. So the second step has to be, what would that help look like? How would you know you were helped? And maybe what happens is that very thing that I just said is acknowledged. I want to be recognized. I want someone to recognize how right I am about this. It's not fair that you spent my money and then asked me later to give it to you. It's her position. And he's saying it's not fair that you're exploiting my generosity and threatening not to pay me back. Both are right, but neither are being heard. Right? So if I'm going to step in and mediate, then I need permission to help, and then I need clarity about what that help would look like. Once I've heard from both, you want to be right, you want to be right. What if you could both be heard? As a mediator, maybe that's the first offer I'd make.
Mm-hmm.
See if I can get permission to help in a way that I know would be helpful. Because I also know that just taking either side is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So that's part of the protocol. Permission, informed choice. So then the next thing would be, let me tell you how I intend to help. If we all agree that the help would be that each of you would feel seen, known, heard, and understood before we attempt any kind of an agreement, would that be a good place to start? And of course, who's going to say no to that? The only argument now is who goes first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what we do with the IFS model. Is when we identify an internal conflict, we get, well, if it's going to go well, it's going to go well because we have informed consent and permission. We're only going to proceed if it's okay, not only for the two that are in conflict, but for the ripple effect that are being impacted by it as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There were other people in that meeting. It was you, those two, and more people, right?
Right.
Imagine that you had turned to everybody else and said, is it okay with you to stay in this room while I attempt to mediate this conflict between these two people? Or would you rather go get coffee while I do it? They would have hightailed it out of there probably, right? Yeah. Or maybe they would have stayed. Maybe they would have really loved to experience that. But in any case, I'm assuming they stayed.
Mm-hmm.
My point is they were affected by it.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So one thing you might have done, by the way, this feedback is not to give you any correction at all. It sounds like it went great. Mm-hmm. I'm just using your example. But what if you were to turn to, let's say, one of the parties that's not in the conflict and said, do you have any concerns before we proceed? Are there any concerns that you have? Do you have any needs that we need to address first? Yeah. And what about you? And what about you? Yeah. Now everybody gets accommodated. All right. And now we have permission from everybody that's going to be impacted by this.
Uh-huh.
And that's everybody that's been impacted so far, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, another level of permission. Now, finally, we get to the point where, okay, so who's going to go first? We've got the time. We've got 30 minutes here. That means we've got 15 minutes for each of you. You can take up to 15 minutes to make your case, not as an argument. Please speak so that you can be understood. Mm-hmm. Please speak to provide us with the information and deliver it in such a way that we can understand. Help us to keep our ears open.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than like using offensive language and blaming and throwing out accusations, can you just help us to understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish, what your fears, concerns, worries are, what your needs are, and what you hope to accomplish by doing what you do. Mm-hmm. Thank you. And now we move to the other one. Mm-hmm. Guaranteed, both parties are going to understand each other better. The tone in the room is going to soften. And now we have the opportunity, the possibility, I should say, of connection. The beginning of the possibility of connection. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So permission, recognizing when there is a conflict, naming the conflict, offering to help, clarity about what that help would look like, permission to use a particular method. This is what I'm going to propose that we do. Mm-hmm. And then proceeding with that and being willing to be with whatever comes up as you proceed along the way. Mm-hmm. Whatever concerns, like the third parties on the outside of the room. Hey, if something comes up for you, we want you to let us know.
I suppose, and at this point in the setting it up so that things can, so that each party can be heard, it might also be good to say, look, if at any point in this it's not going well and you're not happy with what's happening, you get to say, I'm exiting the conversation.
Absolutely. And I've been guilty of this as a facilitator of the IFS model. I've been guilty of trying to mansplain or manage parts that have concerns. wait a minute. No, I'm really wanting to talk to this part over here. And here you are coming in and you're saying this and that and the other, and you're distracting me from having this conversation and you're making it unsafe. So I need you to step back. Can you leave the room? Well, this part might feel safer, except for in the back of that part's mind or that person's mind is, oh, am I going to be asked to leave the room too if I misbehave?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks for protecting me and taking a stand for me and making it safer for me to speak. But somehow, oddly, I don't actually feel that safe with you anymore because you just disrespected this other person or part. So take a moment. Okay, what is your concern? Okay, here's what I think I understand. Is that what your concern is? Yeah, okay. Do you have a clarity about how you'd like that addressed? Let me see if I can accommodate that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't quite do that, but how about this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Is it okay with you now that we proceed with where we were? Great. Now you get back to it. But I love the point that you're making, right, about if it isn't going well for anybody at any point.
Right. Because when we agree to it, we don't know where it's going to go.
That's right.
And so if at some point I recognize like, oh, I see where this is going, forget it. I don't want to be here.
Hi, everybody. It's Bill Tierney. If you're drawn to the internal family systems model and want to practice living it, not just learning about it, the True You groups were made for this work. Each week, we either do a group IFS exercise or one of the members receives a full 40-minute IFS coaching session. Every voice is included. Every conversation is through the IFS lens. And together, self-energy grows in community. Learn more at compassionateresultscoaching.com. That's compassionateresultscoaching.com. Now back to the episode.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's allowable. That needs to be, you need to know that you can walk away if you need to. You're not trapped here in my method of solving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with that permission, with that acknowledged right up front, you're at choice, then they might still leave, but they would leave with a show of protest and a statement, and of course they're going to have to do that with some rigidity and stay gone, just to make their point. Whereas if they've got permission in advance, they can leave and say, yeah, I do need to take a little break here right now. This is not going well for me.
Can I just insert something? I don't want to break down the flow here, but
we're doing great.
I think that everything that you're pointing to is equally applicable to an accountability relationship. You know, when you're holding somebody, like, are you going to take out the trash every week? Yes, I'll take that. You know, like that. And okay, and I'm going to hold you accountable to that because you said you do that. You know, like it's the same thing. Like, can I hold you accountable to the asking permission, you know, and what would that look like then? Would you like me to ask you every week if it got done? Or like you have to set it up. All of that, I think, is equally applicable to holding somebody accountable.
Yes.
I mean, in fact, maybe these conversations that we've been talking about are just species of the genus accountability.
Maybe, yeah.
Right. As a coach, as an IFS coach in particular, right? You're holding people accountable for telling you what parts are there and for attending to them and reporting back to you, all of that. It's right. It takes place in a container where you're the one to whom the coachee is accountable.
Well, I don't really think of it that way. I used to before I began using IFS.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer see myself as an accountability partner, other than to whatever agreements we might have.
Mm-hmm.
And then my approach to accountability is compassionate accountability.
Of course. But I mean, I think it's that, you know, there's an agreement here. Like, we're agreeing to dive into this tension, this conflict.
Yeah.
And, so that's the sense in which, I mean, it's a very broad sense of accountability in that respect. But I just started to hear like everything that you're saying. I just wrote a talk for a conference on
I
accountability.
see. So that's the lens
I
that
was
you're
like, wait a
listening
minute,
to.
this is all the same stuff that I've been saying about how to hold someone accountable. So anyway, I think there's at least an affinity there.
I think so. And I know that I've talked about this on the podcast, the agreement that I have with my wife, that we connect every week,
Right.
and we use those 6 prompts that we answer in advance. We journal about our answers to these 6 prompts, 4 questions and two prompts. And then we share with each other during that time. And one of those 6 is, what commitments have we made in the past, and how are we doing with those?
Mm-hmm.
So what that looks like, our agreement is that I hold myself accountable and she holds herself accountable. And the only time that we would switch over to the other side of the aisle, it would be if I made a commitment last week and I don't mention it this week.
Mm-hmm.
She might say, "Oh, I had a note here that you were gonna do some of the meal planning with me. Do you still want to do that?"
Mm-hmm.
Or, "I noticed that we didn't do that this week. Did you forget, or have you changed your mind?" So it's there. It's courageous. It does take some courage,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a scary thing to hold somebody accountable, to say, "You said this and you didn't do it."
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I just think that these the steps to a protocol, they're very powerful, and I think maybe not all of them, but I'm just noticing that they do have that, they're applicable to that kind of a setup, to an accountability setup, because it's about staying connected when it's difficult.
Yeah, that can be a big challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm finding that it's less and less challenging to me all the time, and I attribute that to the deep work that I'm doing, the healing work that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm less triggered. I'm less activated all the time as time goes on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because I care less. It's because those parts of me that had unmet needs and ongoing unresolved concerns, a lot of them have had those concerns addressed. A lot of those needs have been met. But mostly, I believe that my internal family of parts has just grown to trust that there is a fully resourced version of me
Mm-hmm.
that they can rely on to operate with honesty, integrity, love, care, compassion.
This also reminds me, so I'm just looking at what it takes to do this protocol, or to have these kind of conversation, just to acknowledge it, like it takes something and it's reminding me of the sermon in church on Sunday. Believe it or not, the sermon was about that moment when Jesus asks John the Baptist to baptize him. And John the Baptist is like, wait a minute, shouldn't you be baptizing me in the Holy Spirit? Not me baptizing you in water. It's this symbol, like you're the Savior, you're the Christ that we've all been waiting for. We've been getting baptized in anticipation of your coming. You want me to baptize you? And Jesus is both stubborn and has solidarity with John the Baptist. So those are the two sort of, energies that we need to bring to these kind of conversations. I'm stubbornly in this with you, right? And it's going to be difficult, but let's go forward. And I'm here with you. I have solidarity with you, right? And, there's going to be difficulties, but let's stick to it. And so, then John the Baptist is like, okay, I'll baptize you. After all, there's this implicit agreement that, you know what you're doing.
That's great.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, as I'm listening, I'm imagining a couple like the one that you mentioned, who, in the face of the rupture and the shared intention to repair, that if they're going to be successful, it's going to be partially because they both taken a stand for the relationship.
Right. Right. That's the solidarity piece. And it's going to get difficult. You know, we got to stay in it, you know, to get through this. Otherwise, the tension, the conflict will still be there.
Yes. And the prospect, I can speak from my own history, that the prospect of staying in the conflict when it's that scary has been too much for me in the past. I have left relationships because of my fear and my disbelief that we had the capacity, that I had the capacity, that we had the capacity to endure what we were going to have to experience in order to repair the relationship.
Right. Yeah. I've done that too.
There's a lot of factors that go into that. I didn't believe that I was capable of it, and I didn't believe that they were capable of it. And what I did believe in was my fear that if I continued to take the stand for the relationship, the partnership, whatever it was, that I was going to get hurt. And that fear was far greater than my solidarity, my commitment to that solidarity. When a person defends themselves, they're doing so because they have something to protect. They have something to prevent. And there's going to be a breakdown there as long as the protector is leading the way, as long as it's not safe for the vulnerability to be named and addressed. That's a potential breakdown right there. In the evolution and connection that we're after, evolution of the relationship and the connection that's necessary to get there.
So that's why asking for like the protector, he goes away when you've got permission, you've agreed to the outcome and you to what it's going to look like and all that. Then the protector backs down. Is that what happens?
Not especially. I think eventually we hope that the protector will be able to relax, not back away from their position, but relax because their position's been seen, heard, known, understood, appreciated, and addressed. There is, so in the IFS model, a protector is reacting to something that's happening. Sometimes it appears that what's happening is something outside of the person. But what's happening outside of the person activates something that's happening inside of the person. And that is what gets the cycle going, or that's that stage of the activation in a cycle of protection. So we want to get curious about what's going on right now. It's just pure gold. If we can stop there and slow down, someone, whether it's a part or a person, gets defensive, that's just gold. I can remember sitting in a counseling session with my second wife, and I felt attacked by my wife in this counseling session, and I began to defend myself. And the counselor said to me, "Bill, why do you think you have to defend yourself?" Which seemed like such a bizarre question to me.
Right. At that moment, it's like, well, you're attacking me. What do you think?
Right. Isn't it obvious she's attacking me? If I don't defend myself, then I'm just laid out here to be trampled on. And I'm not going to sit here and be attacked. What I didn't understand, and I don't know if the counselor did or not, she may have, was that there was an opportunity here to notice my defensiveness and notice what it is that was getting hurt by the perceived attack. If that had somehow been facilitated in the way that I'm suggesting right now, like for example, it might have sounded like from the counselor, "Can we pause this right now? Something just now happened." Bill's wife, you said this to Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Bill perceived that in some way where he felt like he had to defend it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that the result that you wanted by saying what you said to him?
Right. Good.
And Bill, are you open to the possibility that if your wife says, no, that's not what I intended, of understanding what she actually did intend?
Mm-hmm.
Or it could have gone this way. Can we notice right now that your communication style isn't working? Bill's wife, the way you're speaking with Bill right now is not being received by him.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, the way you're reacting to what your wife is trying to say to you right now is not working well for her either. It's only escalating her.
Right. Right.
Are you guys willing to try something different?
Mm-hmm.
Would you like my help? If you had my help, how would you know it worked? What outcome would you each like? Can we take turns?
It's so good. It's so nuanced, to use your word. I remember one time I was being coached about a conflict by a not so refined coach as you, and I was getting defensive, and he said, "Why are you getting defensive?" And I had to be the generous one in that. I had to go, well, I guess there's some other way that I could hear this other than as an attack. And so I had to generate, so maybe you're actually trying to be on my side in some way rather than attack me. Okay, let me try and listen for this other way. But yeah, I didn't get all that nuanced, slowing it down. How else could this go? Like it's beautiful what you've created.
It occurs to me that someone's listening now and they're thinking, well, of course you're going to be defensive. And okay, so that sounds really great. Sounds elegant. It's wonderful. Yeah, the counselor's going to step in and propose that we try something different. That's great. But that's not the way life is. That's not the way it works. You're not married to my wife. You're not married to my husband. You know that wouldn't fly at all.
First, and I'm not living in your head either, where this
Exactly
happening. Yeah.
So I couldn't have in that situation at that time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that I even had the capacity to generate that kind of a shift by myself. Had that particular counselor offered it, maybe, but I needed to be educated.
Yeah.
It was not in my toolbox. I didn't have that skill set. I felt vulnerable and attacked, and my mode was defend.
Yeah.
My emotion was fear. That's just where I was living at the time. Needless to say, that relationship did not work out. Yeah, we made each other suffer a lot. It was a miserable marriage because we lacked the skills, and we didn't have anybody in our lives that were able to come in and offer help and negotiate it. And even if we had, we may not have been able to accept it. I don't know. This is something that you really have to be ready for. And it goes back to the very beginning of the protocol. Do I want help?
Mm-hmm.
You and I know both as coaches that when we attempt to help somebody that's not coachable, we're wasting our time and we're pissing them off.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So it's got to start there. But once somebody does want help, now how much willingness that they have? How far out of the comfort zone are they willing to go? Because it's going to get uncomfortable if we try something new.
I have a colleague who has invented a protocol for engendering, not just facilitating, but engendering better communication in corporate environments. And she uses this simple little tool of like a traffic light. She says, they check in throughout the conversation. Have I got a green from you? Or, is this getting in the yellow zone? Or are you saying it's red? We need to stop.
Oh, I love that. Is that Leslie?
Yes.
Go ahead and promote her here. Tell everybody about Leslie.
Yeah, well, it's a very powerful tool called the spiral method. Spiral because things spiral upwards and get better. I think that's how I interpret it. But it's it's really, it's an invention of simple games, very simple games. And I've used this with the corporate teams myself, and it gets people in a more intuitive, heartfelt space, is what it does, so that and you so that you're not coming from old tapes that you've been playing, right? Those are fine. There's nothing wrong with those, but this puts you in a different space, in the broader space of your soul or heart, or intuition. I'm not sure how to relate that, but it's not just like already created patterns. And that's what these games serve to do, is to put us in that space so that we can see new ideas, new ways of relating. And so it makes us very creative, and things spiral.
Yes. And I've been fortunate enough to experience that with Leslie and you, and it can feel scary. I don't recall that we did the stoplight metaphor, but I love that. That's really great.
Yeah, we didn't get into that piece of it, but that is a part of it, that I find it's very useful. You can just say, look, this is getting in the yellow zone for me now. Okay, great. And what she will say to people, her coaching, when people say they're in the yellow, is like, can you be with the heat? Can you feel that this heat is moving somewhere, healing? And if yes, great, we continue. You can still function in the yellow zone. It's when it gets into the red zone that you say, oh, too much, too hot.
The words that you were looking for to describe the green zone, where you're still feeling comfortable, still feeling open and willing to take some risks, maybe.
Right.
We would describe that in the IFS model as being self-energized or self-led.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough self-energy present to be able to tap into the innate resources that enable me to be courageous, to be present,
Right.
and to trust myself enough to know that I can take the heat.
Right. Yeah. And so there's that stubbornness and solidarity, both are there in the yellow zone, right? And if it gets to feel just too stubborn with no solidarity, if that's the way it feels, then you get to say, no, this is red.
And so at that point, it's time for a reset. Something needs to happen to help relax the tension that has built that makes that red. And sometimes that means, and this is part of the protocol as well, is that sometimes it means we take a pause, no matter what even if the momentum has built and we're moving in a direction and it looks like we're making a lot of progress. Well, often, and what's predictable here with parts is that we can only go so far and make so much progress before it's going to get really uncomfortable for some other protector in the system that hasn't maybe been revealed yet.
Right.
That may come up and block further progress. And it feels like a frustration sometimes when that happens. But I think if we reframe what's happening and just recognize, just like me being defensive with my wife in that counselor's office, it's just it's indicative of something that we didn't previously see. It's exposing a blind spot, and it's an opportunity to address that.
It also occurs to me, I'd be curious what you have to say about this, that, sometimes in relationships and conversations, and I think more often in men than women, but don't hold me to that. We turn off. Like, instead of getting, heated, we just like, I'm basically not here. I'm sitting here, but I'm not really participating anymore.
We've all had that experience. I've had that experience both as the one that shuts down and as the one in the presence of somebody that shuts down. And it's a conversation ender. It could be a relationship ender, but it's there as another protective mechanism.
Exactly.
Whatever part has influenced us to shut down has a lot of information for us. And interestingly, if we can turn toward the one that shut us down and bring interest to that one, to understand it
Mhm.
and appreciate what it's trying to accomplish by shutting down, the whole thing can get moving again or not. But the main thing is that it's an opportunity to get to know one more part. And when that happens, there is more access to resources and things do get to moving again. We need to wrap up. I'm noticing the clock.
Oh gosh.
Can we?
Dude, time flies.
Well, in these great conversations, it really does.
Today we talked about a couple of really tense conversations, and that can be had either between different individuals or between a practitioner and the client's parts.
That's right. And we talked about the protocol. The reason that came up is because I discovered in an IFS session with a client, that I had skipped ahead in the line and assumed that I had an informed consent and permission to use the IFS model in the coaching session. And it became very painfully clear that this client and their parts needed a better understanding of what I was attempting to do and why I was doing it. So that called on me to create this protocol.
And the promise of listening to this episode, if you choose to, is that you will get to learn this protocol that Bill has invented that makes these conversations doable and healing and enriching.
I'm not sure if I invented it or not. I think maybe I discovered it. I know that there are elements of this in that book back in Colorado that's on the bookshelf, Getting Real by Susan Campbell. And I know that Tony Irvine Blank in the protocol, the IFS protocol, which is Intimacy from the Inside Out, she talks about courageous conversations. There's a book by the name of Crucial Conversations that touches on a lot of this as well. I'm sure that I'm standing on the shoulders of giants as I tap into all the things that I've learned over the years in building this protocol. So I don't want to sound like this is a unique thing that I just created all on my own. I just found a necessity for it, and it feels like I've been getting a bit of a download the last week or so in terms of how to answer the challenges that I have encountered with clients, not just recently, but all along the way, and have been kind of tripping over and getting through. But my hope is, and frankly, I've been using this protocol over the last week, and it's working really well, that it really makes it feel a lot safer for people to have these really difficult, challenging conversations with other people and with their parts.
I just wanted to acknowledge you for taking the download and simmering it down to something very useful and effective for us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And more will be revealed here. I will continue to work on the protocol as I learn from my clients and in my own life. So thanks for listening. Talk to you next time. Thanks, Marty. We appreciate who you are, that you would be listening to this podcast, and want to acknowledge all those parts of you that yearn for the experience of the true you.
If you like this episode, click like, share it with others, and be sure to subscribe. Listen again next week for the newest episode.
Check show notes for a transcript and a link to resources, including a link to let us know if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast.
Thank you for listening and going on this journey with us back to the true you.